I remember a room with 2 staffers, sort of a messy-looking hippie guy and a gross woman with a pointed weasel face. No offense, weasels. Love you. 4 or 5 other students, male and female, stood there watching. Weaselmug shut the door and said, "I need to search you for contraband. Take off your clothes." I said, "No, that's not. I swear I don't have anything. How would I have anything? I was at home. I was sleeping." "Take off your jacket." When I didn't take it off, she repeated the thing about the easy way or the hard way, saying there was no use fighting what was going to happen because my parents had given them medical power of attorney and she could inject me with sedatives if she wanted to. I unzipped the jacket and handed it to her. The next little while is kind of like white noise in my head, but I can still hear her voice, flat and repetitive, like a broken shutter banging in the wind. "Take off your shoes. Take off your socks. Take off your shirt. Take off your bra. Take off your pants. Take off your underwear." She took each item and handed it to somebody who ran his hands over every seam and then stuffed it into a bag. I vaguely remember standing there naked in front of all those people, shaking uncontrollably, my knees clenched together, my arms hugged tight across my chest. When she said cavity search, I thought it was a dental inspection. That's the only context in which I'd ever heard the word cavity. Seeing that I didn't understand, Weaselmug said, "We have to make sure you don't have drugs or weapons hidden in there." "In where?" I couldn't make sense of what she was saying, because she could not be saying what she was saying. That could not happen. Everyone else stood there, and their faces were like, I don't know, just bad. Staring at me, snickering, shuffling their feet. These boys weren't much older than me. The woman pulled on a latex glove and said, "Are you going to cooperate, or do we have to have the guys hold you down and pull your legs apart?" I hated the whimpering rabbit sound that came out of me. It wasn't my clever baby voice. It was genuine panic. "Let's go," she said. "Squat down and cough." I squatted and tried to cough, but all I could do was sob and gasp for air. "Are you going to cooperate, or—" I hacked a hard cough. She felt around between my legs and then made me stand up, bend forward, and hold my butt cheeks apart while she groped inside of me with her gloved fingers. When it was over, she handed me some stained magenta sweats. They were gross, but whatever. I was desperate to cover myself up. I put on the sweats without arguing and wiped my nose with the sleeve. "We're going to keep her in pinks," Weaselmug announced. "Transport says she's probably a runner." She gave me socks, no shoes. "Shoes are a privilege you'll have to earn." I know she meant to humiliate me with those hideous magenta sweats, but pink has always been my power color. The way I walk has nothing to do with what I wear. You think a model loves every look that gets put on her? At 16, I'd worn some amazing clothes on the runway, but I'd worn my share of nightmare get-ups too. I had already learned that the walk comes from within. You wear the clothes don't wear you. A girl with a bland expression and mousy hair took me to a room with 4 bunk beds. I don't remember her name, so I'll just call her Blanda. "This is you," Blanda said cheerfully, indicating a top bunk with a yellowed pillow and blanket. "I'm over on that side. Sometimes there's 4 in here, but right now it's just us. I'm your big sister." "No," I said, "you're not." "I have a sister. It's not you." I crawled up into the bunk and curled into a ball, wishing the ceiling would fall down on this bitch. "Yeah," she said, "I read in your profile you have a little sister. Little brothers. I'm an only child. But now I have you, little sister." "Please stop talking." "This is all for your own good. I read in your profile how you were like totally kicked out of every school in the world and like doing drugs and sleeping around." "That's bullshit," I said. "That's not true." "Now's not the time to run your anger, Paris. Wait for rap tonight, and then take care of your feelings." I covered my head with my arms thinking, what does that even mean? "I need to talk to my mom," I said. "I need to call my mom right now." "Maybe in a couple weeks. That's a privilege you'll have to earn," said Blanda. She handed me a thick binder. "Here's everything about what to do and what not to do. Whatever. You can't stay up there. I'm supposed to show you around and get you familiar with the rules." "Don't bother," I said. "I'm not staying." "Don't say that," Blanda whispered, wide-eyed and urgent. "You'll get us both in trouble. If you try to run, they'll bring you back and then you'll be sorry. If you don't work the program and stay in agreement, you'll end up going to Ascent or even Provo. Trust me, you do not want to get sent to Provo. We just want to help you, Paris. We just want you to know yourself and nurture the child within you, your little you. You'll be amazed how fast the next 2 years fly by." 2 years? I dropped down from the bunk so I could look into her face and see if she was fucking with me. 2 years. You'll graduate when you turn 18, and by then you won't even want to leave. And I got blown away every night during rap. Stupid, spoiled bitch. You're not even trying to work the program. They're going to send you to Ascent. You're going to end up at Provo. Kids who'd stayed at other Sea-Doo sister facilities agreed that Ascent sucked. It was a military-style boot camp, somewhere in Montana or Idaho or Montandaho, I don't know. Hardcore middle-of-nowhere wilderness. You had to sleep in a tent and do hard labor. They said all the kids were criminals and psychopaths, and the staff people were even worse. The general take on Provo was a wide-eyed whisper. Bad things happened there. I sat through a few more raps with a frozen Stepford smile. I was dying a million times inside. But I wouldn't let myself fight back. I had to conserve my energy. I planned to run again, using what I learned. But before I had a chance to try, the transporters came for me. Same as the first time, 2 people, a man and a woman, came in the middle of the night, grabbed me, and gave me the whole easy way or hard way bit. The scene had already played itself out in my head 100 times. I slept in my clothes thinking about how I would handle it. "Easy," I smiled. "I'm excited to go. I love the outdoors." They were thrown off a little, but not really fooled by this. When they put the cuffs on me, they probably saw that I was shaking. The wife was a chunky middle-aged woman, not very tall, blonde hair with gray roots. Her husband had a huge belly. I felt certain they'd never catch me, if I could just make a break for it. They gave me actual clothes to travel in, jeans and a t-shirt from the bag Mom packed. I'd lost a lot of weight, so the jeans looked baggy and sad. On the way to the airport, I tried to chat them up and charm them. But Mr. and Mrs. Meathead sat in the front seat of the SUV staring straight ahead. They kept the cuffs on me while we flew to San Francisco, where we were supposed to change planes. I was as sweet as I could be the whole way. Gosh, I can't wait to get to my new school. Do you think it'd be okay if we take the cuffs off before we change planes? It's just so embarrassing to walk through the airport like this. No, Mr. Meathead said flatly. The paperwork says you're a runner. But Mrs. Meathead sighed and gave him a look, so he took them off. At the gate inside SFO, I asked if she could please take me to the ladies' room, and she agreed. I went into a stall. She folded her arms, standing right outside the door. Don't try to lock it, she said. I smiled and shrugged. There wouldn't be much point. I pulled the door shut and sat on the toilet without taking my jeans down, waiting, taking one deep, quiet breath after another, trying to think through what was going to happen next. After a while, Mrs. Meathead pounded on the door and said, "Hurry up." I braced my hands on the toilet seat, breathing, waiting until I saw her eye at the crack in the stall door. "What are you doing?" she said. Here's the thing about dancing in a really crowded club. There's so little room to do anything, you end up basically jumping up and down for hours, which gives you the thigh muscles of a kangaroo. Without really thinking about it, I pulled my knees to my chest and kicked the door with both feet. She staggered back and fell to the tile floor, moaning sort of a wet, blubbery sound. I just ran. Out the door, down the concourse. I heard her behind me screaming for her husband, but I had a head start. By the time he started chasing me, I was halfway down the concourse. I bounded onto an escalator before I realized it was coming up, and I needed to go down. Too late to change lanes. I leaped out over the stairs, skipped like a stone, stumbled, found my feet, and kept pounding toward the one safe haven I could think of, the Hilton. Everything's okay, Paris. Just stay with me while we figure this out. It's cute how I kept forgetting that my mom is way smarter than me. Apparently, after I ran the first time, my parents had a wiretap put on their phone, knowing that if I bolted again, I would eventually call, and they would be able to trace it. I felt a firm hand on my shoulder and looked up to find a police officer standing there. "You need to come with me, miss." He took the phone from me and said, "Mrs. Hilton?" "This is Officer. Yes, I have her. Yes, ma'am. Will do." I expected him to put me in the back of a cop car, but there wasn't one. He was a bicycle cop. He put handcuffs on me, got on his bike, and made me run behind him all the way to the police station, which was only a couple blocks, but come on. Fuck you, bicycle cop. Fuck you and your hideous shorts and the lame-ass jail seat you rode in on. I waited on the bench at the police station until the meatheads came for me. They were seriously pissed. Mrs. Meathead was holding an ice pack on her face. The front of her shirt was spattered with blood. While Mr. Meathead was at the front desk talking to the police officer, she bent down and burbled through her swollen lips. "Fuck you, you little twat. You're gonna be sorry you did that." When the officer came to reclaim his cuffs, I begged him, "Please, don't let them take me. They're trying to kidnap me. They're going to beat me." "We're her legal guardians," said Mr. Meathead. He showed the officer some paperwork. "As you can see, she's a violent offender." It took me a beat to understand what that meant, and that it was true. Mrs. Meathead was really hurt. I did that, and I did not feel bad about it. Seeing myself that way made me feel even further removed from my real life. The Meatheads took me to the airport in cuffs, and I sat on the plane, wedged between their sweaty bodies, feeling physically and emotionally crushed. On New Year's Eve 2000, I celebrated with a trip to Vegas, where I went into an exotic pet store and came out 2 hours later with several small animals, including 2 ferrets and a baby goat. When I got to the airport with all these pet crates and supplies, the gate agent told me, "This is not a traveling zoo." I had to rent a limo and travel through 10 hours of New Year's Eve traffic back to LA by myself with my new animal friends crapping all over the seats. I spent the first few hours of 2001 drinking champagne and helping the driver clean it all up. Thus, the aughts were defined as the decade of extra. Whatever's going against you, figure out how to use it to your advantage. I turned 19 in February 2000. I knew what I had going for me, and it was a lot. I was strong, I was beautiful, I could make people laugh, I knew where to go and how to be seen. I signed with a major modeling agency. I continued to build my side business, getting paid to party, and I started paying closer attention to conversations about real estate and investing. I knew I needed a manager, but I didn't know who to trust other than Dad and Papa. I hated the thought of giving up a percentage of my earnings, so I created a fake manager with her own email and her brusque, smoky voice on the phone. "Yes, I received your offer and confirmed availability for Miss Hilton. If we can compromise on that back-end percentage and do another $10K up front, I think we have a deal. Yes, I'll fax you her signature." I don't remember the fake manager's name, but she was like a grown-up version of Amber Taylor. She negotiated for me like a pit bull. Even after I signed with a major modeling agency, I kept her around for odd jobs. Facebook launched in February 2004, and I kept hearing about it, but it was for college students only. "Don't take it personally," Nikki advised. And I didn't, but it was a strange reminder that there was once a little girl called Star who dreamed of becoming a veterinarian. But I didn't go to college. The people who were paid to educate me failed, so I've had to educate myself by doing, dreaming, and experimenting, by reading and listening, by screwing things up and fixing them again. I had to forge my education on the all-you-can-learn buffet of life. My self-education is a collage of experiences glued together with towering role models. Again, I was born to privilege. I'm not minimizing that. But I could have coasted, and I never did. I worked. And every time my life fell apart, I worked harder. One priceless bit of advice my great-grandfather gave my grandfather, and my grandfather gave me: success is never final. Failure is never fatal. I've seen both up close. Anyway, no college, so no Facebook for me in 2004. Probably for the best. I'm sure there was a lot of garbage gossip about me. I didn't need that kind of negativity or distraction.